When I started knitting, literally 19 years ago, I really thought that I'd be a perfect knitter by now, right? Like you'd think that after almost 2 decades of knitting, my stitches would always be perfect. I'd never get my hair caught up in my yarn. I'd know every technique there is to know, and none of that is true. Hey, my name's May, and this is Mrs. Shank Knits. So I am a truly imperfect knitter. Sometimes my knitting looks a little wobbly. Sometimes there are gaps in my make ones. Sometimes I get that weird ladder thing that happens at the join with double pointed needles. But none of that stops me from trying new things. And honestly, after all these years of knitting, there are some things that I'm pretty good at. I've knit more pairs of socks than I can even remember. I've made sweaters in pretty much every way there is to knit sweaters, I think. Actually, I've never done a saddle shoulder, and I've seen some pretty crazy constructions on fruity knitting that I have not tried. But I mean, I've done all of the conventional sweater knitting ways to knit a sweater. And I love to try out the weird stuff too. And not being the best at everything, or honestly, more like not being the best at anything, doesn't stop me from both wanting to try something neat that I see and thinking that I'm going to be amazing at it. I'm overconfident. I have been making dog sweaters with no patterns for about 2 years now, and occasionally I'd write down what I did to create it later, but mostly it was just about making something for Nacho to match whatever it was I had just made for myself, same yarn, same basic design, but never from a pattern. They were just crazy diagrams and notes to myself that would not have been helpful, I don't think, to anyone else, is what I'm saying. And it was maybe sometime last year that I started actually writing down what I was doing in a more coherent way. And, I practiced recording what I was doing, fixing it, editing it until I was confident that I could create and release a pattern into the world for other dog sweater knitters to make for their dogs. But being able to write a decent pattern didn't make me a better knitter, which I guess I thought it magically would. My charts are accurate, my math is triple checked and correct, but my stitches are still kind of wobbly and I don't always weave in my ends the neatest, and that's okay. I think knitting for fun is knitting for yourself and your loved ones especially. It should never be about being perfect. I mean, it's good, important even, to have goals. So for example, every single sock I knit for years had that big ugly ladder under the foot that I mentioned earlier. Literally every single sock. It was an ongoing joke with my knit night friends. All of May's socks have the telltale ladder on the sole of the foot. It's my signature. That's how you know I knit it, right? And I practiced, and I made it a goal to eliminate that, or at least drastically reduce that laddering on the sole. And honestly, the thing that worked the best for me was just moving the join. So I never have a join on the sole of my foot of a sock anymore. I usually use the flexi needles, and I just use two, one for the front, one for the back, and then I'll do sometimes two at a time on circulars and just have the joins on the sides as well. And now I never have ladders in the soles of my socks. So I didn't really solve the issue by getting better at whatever the thing was that was causing me to knit like that, but I did fix the problem. One of those work smarter, not harder moments. So yeah, have goals and achieve them, but don't feel not having even stitches, means that you can't knit yourself a fingering weight cardigan, because you can totally knit yourself a cardigan or whatever it is. Don't be afraid to just do the thing, even if you're not great at it, because it's still so fun to do it and make and wear the thing that you made. My very first sweater is totally wobbly. I remember wearing it to knit night as soon as I had finished it, and I was so excited that I had made a thing that wasn't socks that I could wear and show off. And one of the first reactions I got was a comment about my make ones and how they were not done right. And I 100% did not let that bother me. I was so jazzed from having finished it. I think my response was something at least they're consistent, so it looked like it was part of the design, if you didn't know. So now that my make ones mostly don't have holes, sometimes they do, but they do look a lot more tidy these days, I still wear that sweater all the time. I love it. I love the look of it, which is why I bought the pattern and knit it in the first place. I love how incredibly warm it is. It is so warm, oh my gosh, and how soft it is and not itchy. And I love that it's the first sweater that I made. And it's the first sweater that I made a matching dog version for. Oh my gosh, I gotta dig out a picture of that. So Nacho's version of this sweater is an even better example of this whole thing. I should have been talking about his sweater the whole time. Anyway, so here it is. I'm just going to do some side-by-side comparisons here for you. This is the one that I made in early 2020 to match my stripy one, obviously. And then this one, I just recently designed. It's in testing right now. So for this first one, I cast on, I did this with no pattern. I literally just thought the dog sweaters are a little like socks in their basic construction, like from a cuff down perspective. So I cast off my DPNs as if I was doing a big sock, and I did the ribbing and then started with the stripes. And then when I got to the chest, I tried out like one of numerous ways to do these arms. It was okay, but the bum part is what's so hilarious, especially since I'm going through a whole tummy shaping overhaul in my test group for this sweater to make this section longer. So looking at this bum flap side by side situation, okay, this one I knit 2 years ago. It cracks me up. And I think I actually have enough in my stash to knit a new one with like proper tummy shaping, but I'm keeping this one for nostalgia. This is how I do tummy shaping now. Like obviously it's a lot better, but like I still like the janky one. Like I like it maybe because it's janky compared to the Dottie sweater, or this one that I did recently too is Drops Design Pattern. Imperfectly making things that you love is still making things that you love. And this is one of those things that I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on. Really, are you a perfectionist knitter or like a roll with it knitter, or maybe a little bit of both? I have been known to go back and fix things, so I don't always roll with it, but I think most of the time that's pretty accurate. It's an accurate description of me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. You can also find me on Instagram as Mrs. Shank Knits, where I share whips, knitting inspiration, yarns, and notch out in my stories every day. Thanks, guys. Bye.